Hello everyone, my name is Moji. You're watching a Bitcoin bubble news channel. Then it will either go down or stay sideways, so, it's very difficult to predict Bitcoin. And I think that part of the growth pattern is realizing that you won't be able to do so. If you're trying to trade this thing with leverage or anything, I don't think you're doing yourself any favors by trying to guess it. I don't think that will work out for you or be a good way to make money. When BlackRock's IBIT and other spot Bitcoin exchange traded funds were approved in January, many investors thought they would help drive up the price of the best cryptocurrency. This was an important event that had been planned for at least 10 years. People who bought cryptocurrencies got even more excited about these hopes when spot Bitcoin ETFs broke record after record and Bitcoin reached new all-time highs in March. Fred Krueger, a famous crypto expert and Bitcoin maximalist, talks about how prices are changing right now and why Bitcoin prices have been stuck in the same range for months. Fred, on the other hand, isn't sad about what's going on. He's still optimistic about the bull market and better Bitcoin prices before 2025. During earlier bull markets, Fred says Bitcoin would be pretty quiet for months, and then all of a sudden it would take off almost without any explanation. He thinks the same thing will happen in 2024, focusing on the time when Bitcoin prices were higher from September to November. Mario Santastasi, a famous former physics teacher, came up with the Bitcoin power law, and Fred agrees with it. For Giovanni's power LW model to work, we need to look at the relationship between price and time. This will help us figure out how the Bitcoin price will change. Giovanni believes that by 2045, each Bitcoin could be worth $10 million. Here are some parts of the interview where Fred talks about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin power law model. Please like this movie, follow the channel, and turn on post alerts to get more videos like this. With your help, YouTube will work better and the channel will get bigger. Thanks and enjoy the show. This is kind of a separate thing from when my journey there was. I'm friends with this guy Steven who is terrified. Astrophysicist, and we both know a friend at Sun Microsystems. I've been watching Steven for a long time, and he's always talked about having this for a power law model. Then I really got into his model, and I thought, Steven, this is amazing. He says, wow, that's really cool, and I post it. Then Giovanni says, hey, this is my model. No, I found this out on my own. Who are you? He said, my name is Giovanni, and I said, okay, let's talk, man. I know you're an astrophysicist professor. Steven is too, and I think I know more about math than that other guy. People say I really love them to pieces. Talking to people who are good with numbers, like Giovanni, Stevenson's, or someone, because I'm happy to get into the details with them and do all the checking myself. As soon as I heard this, I thought, okay, I'm going to get all the information myself. Okay, great, let me take a look at myself. I'm thinking, oh my God, yes, you're right. This is completely fine, What if I did this? Oh, that's strange. You already know this way. What if I look this up to find out what it is? I think that's the great thing about all of this. You can test it yourself, right? You don't have to use statistical tools to do this. You can do it on Google Feeds and check it yourself. And I believe that if you do that, you will really feel sure that something is going on, right? There's something unique going on. Oh, okay, it's pretty much where you think it should be. Don't you think? First, one thing we all know about Bitcoin is that it does a lot of nothing most of the time and then moves very quickly, right? Just so you know, the guy with the stick is a meme of that type. There's a little of that when you poke Bitcoins and say, do something right. That's always the case with Bitcoin, right? I remember going to see my dad in New York and getting him to invest in Bitcoin. It was June of last year, and Bitcoin was selling at 25,000. He says, Fred, I'm honestly a little let down. I'm like, no, like Dad. He says, it's just sitting here at 25,000. I'm like, your dad, I told him it's great. Don't worry about it. This thing is going to do great. He never thought about selling his Bitcoin. Anyway, he didn't sell it. But, I think 3 months of moving things around is totally normal. It doesn't matter. It looks like everything is fine. I don't think much of what we're going through now. I don't have any thoughts or feelings about it. And I've come to the realization that I have no idea what Bitcoin will do in the next month. I kind of said, I like to look at like I'm a monkey like everyone else. There are 50 times a day that I click refresh, but do I really know what Bitcoins will do tomorrow? No, I don't know what Bitcoin will do next month. No, what do I know about what Bitcoin will do next year? I think it will be a little bit in the next year, but over the next 2 to 4 to 5 years, Yes, I believe I think that's a pretty good point, right? And I think the power law helps put a number on that. However, I must say that we don't have magic wands. To see where this stuff is going, we have a lot of doubts. I remember a guy who was dealing For 4 years as a professional, I think Bitcoin is even harder to understand than most of the other things I've bought and sold. For some reason, it goes up just when you least expect it to. Like when you're sure it's going down, it goes up. Or when you're sure it should go up, it goes down or stays the same. So, it's really, really hard to predict Bitcoin. And I think that part of the growth pattern is realizing that you won't be able to do so. If you're trying to trade this thing with leverage or anything, I don't think you're doing yourself any favors by trying to predict it. I don't think that's a good way to make money as a mathematician. Fred believes that the Bitcoin power law model is the best way to look at Bitcoin's price and past of adoption, as well as to predict future price increases. Fred thinks Bitcoin will be worth $700,000 in 10 years. More importantly, Fred said that Bitcoin would do better than bonds, stocks, real estate, and even the debasement of the US dollar. As long as central banks keep taking on big bills and printing money to pay them off, Fred thinks Bitcoin could go above $700,000. During the interview, Fred also talks about Plan B, the Bitcoin stock-to-low model price prediction method made famous by anonymous experts. In contrast to Bitcoin power legislation, Fred thinks that the stock-to-flow model has some flaws that make it less good than the Bitcoin power law model. The scientist says that the Us.Thanks model says Bitcoin's price will rise by a huge amount. The power law model says that earnings will decrease over time. Plan B's model says that Bitcoin will be worth between $500,000 and $1 million in 2025. Fred thinks that prices will rise by 40% each year for a few more years. Okay, so you already know that I'm writing this book about Bitcoin. I just went over each of these patterns, right? If you look at the pattern from 2013, right? Most of the action in the 2013 bull market happened between October 2013 and December 2013. That's when you could have sold all of your Bitcoin, okay? From about September to October, you would have made 85% of all Bitcoin's value just by being there for those 3 months. You could have skipped the first 3 years of Bitcoin's life, which came out in 2014. They could just show up in September 2013 by Bitcoin. What if you sold your Bitcoin in January 2014? You would have made about 85% of its value, right? 2017 is the next bull market, right? Again, and I want you to remember really well, right? But if you like 2017 at the beginning of the year, it was $1,000, but it never really dropped below $6,000 for most of the year. Yes, and then all of a sudden, at the end of the year, it broke 10,000. This is what I want to say. I think it was September or October again, and then after a long time, it may have finally broken through and reached almost 20,000. However, the move from 10 to 20 was only for 1 month. It was recently written on X that Plan B compared his Bitcoin Us.Thanks model to Giovanni's Bitcoin power law model. I use both power law and Us.Thanks because the data supports both. However, that will change. Power law shows that earnings are decreasing. A price of $210,000 at the cycle high and below $70,000 at the cycle low. Stock to flow shows exponential gains of more than $500,000 at the cycle high and less than $100,000 at the cycle low. You won't have to talk about it. A follow-up tweet will tell you everything. I like both models 2013-2011.